Hey guys, welcome to another video. Today we're going to be talking about how do you go ahead and apply for a master's or a PhD program in the US, Canada, New Zealand, Australia, or any of these countries essentially, UK also, all of these, the process remains the same. In this video, I'm going to be detailing all of these steps, every single one that you need to take to actually go ahead, file your application, get an admission, and actually fly out to your university. So if you're interested, stay tuned. Before we even begin, the first thing we have to do is to pick a term. Remember, there's three major terms: fall, spring, and summer. The fall intake is the biggest of the all. It's the best intake hands down. It is the most competitive, but it has the maximum number of seats. And it starts in September for the most part. Alright. There is of course the spring intake. The second biggest, it's also pretty big, but I would say not all the universities offer all the programs in spring. If you want to go for spring, you would be starting in January. And finally, there is the smallest intake of all, and that is the summer intake, used for usually shorter programs for the most part, just 1 or 2 month programs. I do not recommend applying to the summer intake or targeting the summer intake for any major 1-year degree or more for the most part. Now in this video, of course, we're going to be focusing on the fall timeline, but you can very easily do this for the spring. And let me tell you how. You go on to YMGrad.com, here's the link, it's pretty easy, right? You go on to the articles section right here and you search for timeline, okay? That's it, that's what you search for, the timeline. 2 timelines over here by default, fall and spring. Let me open up the fall one because that is the one that we are most interested in, of course. There's a spring one as well, which you can easily follow. Just open it up and follow it very easily. But in this video, we're focusing on fall, okay? Fall timeline, what happens? Basically, see, if you're starting in August 2023 or September 2023, right? You have to basically start the process somewhere around 1.5 years back. This is what you really have to do if you want to do it right. If you don't want to be in a hurry, you start about 1.5 years back. Now, let me tell you why that is. That's because of the minimum requirements. That's because of the minimum requirements that you have to start so early, because there are some things that you have to fulfill that you may not be fulfilling right now. Most cases, you will not be fulfilling them. The first thing you have to do over here is to go ahead, take a look at a couple of universities offering the program that you would be interested in. Could be anything, could be computer science, could be fashion, could be MBA, could be finance, whatever it is you're interested in, go ahead, check out the program, check out the minimum requirements. The one thing you would find in most countries that you go for is that they would ask you for GRE, GMAT, one of these tests. These are graduate level tests, right? Especially if you're going for an MBA, GMAT or GRE is almost a mandate, right? By the way, there are waivers, so if you have not taken these tests and you still want to apply right now, connect with me and we can help with that. Right now we have a lot of waivers for these tests. But at the same point in time, let's say that you want to do this process yourself, maybe for next year, maybe you have a lot of time. Well, then the best way to go about it is to take the tests, because then you're eligible to almost any university that you want to apply to. Alright, let me just give you a quick glance of what the minimum requirements look like. Okay, let's just say that you are interested in, let's see, Stanford Masters in Electrical Engineering. Just, giving you an example over here, okay? You write minimum requirements with it, and that's where you will find the admissions overview page over here. They ask you for some minimum requirements. You go to the official website only, okay? Go to the official website and official website only. Don't go to the third-party website so that you can get the updated information. And then you see what is required over here, okay? Review eligibility guidelines. Let's actually take a look at that. Okay, we need to have all of these things. You need to have an undergraduate degree, of course, if you're going for a master's, right? So all of these things, basic things, right? Then we want to take a look at the actual application materials. What is the material that is required? Transcripts are required. Now, this is something that you can arrange, even 1-2 months before your applications. Test scores are required, and this is what I was talking about. They require the TOEFL, and this is the English language score. I was going to be talking about that shortly. So you have to take either the TOEFL or the IELTS. Any one of these tests you have to take. And for Stanford is an exception. It only takes TOEFL, but most schools nowadays accept TOEFL and IELTS both. The other thing, they are they're basically looking for your GRE as well. And these tests, they take time. It isn't easy. You can't just prepare for them in one day. You have to actually go ahead, prepare for a couple of days, and then take the test. And that's why I would suggest start early as possible, really. Okay, so coming back to the schedule, Feb to June, somewhere in between that, what you do essentially is you start working and you start preparing for these tests. All right, July, August, mostly what you want to do is you want to be finished with these tests. Okay, all right, by July, mostly try by July if possible, or within July. finish off with your tests, your GRE, your TOEFL, right? You only have to take 2, by the way. Either it's GRE or TOEFL, GRE or else, or it could be GMAT or TOEFL, GMAT or else, depending on your degree requirements, essentially. For STEM degrees, generally they prefer the GRE, otherwise it's generally the GMAT for MBA programs, but nowadays GRE works for MBA programs as well. So there's a whole lot of contention that goes into it, but you have to actually take the test. That's the bottom line. Okay. The next thing that you want to do, you're finished with your tests. You have your test scores. Now what you want, really important over here, is you want to know which universities you will be applying to. Alright, decide your target. It's very important. I understand you may have had 1 or 2 universities already in mind. That's good enough, but have at least 5 to 8 universities in your mind and on your Excel sheet. Let me tell you how you build that. Let me give you a sample, in fact. So we do have a shortlisting service where we actually build this. I'll just give you a sample from that. Right, this is the kind of output you want, essentially the university name, the location, how ambitious, moderate or safe it is for you, and again you can decide all of that, right, looking at previous admission rejects on this website itself, or I'll tell you another way as well. Right, of course the program that you're going for could be anything, right, then the deadline, anything else you want to write, the tuition, all of these things, and maybe you can even add more columns depending on your requirements. So for instance, I want to understand which universities I can apply to. Let's say I will search for I will just search for universities in let's go for United States for this time, right? And what I can do over here is I can select, okay, which states I also want it in based on the job opportunities if you want. I'm not going to do that for now, but let's say that I don't have a lot of money to spend. Maybe I just want to keep it under $30,000 per annum, max to max, under all circumstances. Then these are the universities I can apply to. All right, and even after that, which ones are ambitious for me, which ones are moderate. This tool can very easily tell you that this one is moderate for you. This one is going to be, again, it could be moderate, could be ambitious, depends on the tool. Essentially depends on your profile, right? This one could be safe for you, it depends. Now I've actually added a very good profile, so it's giving me very good evaluations over here. Even the top universities seem to be moderate and safe for me because my profile is so good on the website. But of course, depending on your profile, this can change it. Anyway, so the goal is to create an Excel sheet just like, oops, no, not this one actually, just like this one right here, something like this. All right, it's very important. Create this. You should know which schools are your target schools. All right, you can even add the deadlines over here, which is very important, so that you can keep track of stuff very easily. It's an Excel sheet, nothing more than that. And by the way, my recommendation, focus on the location, focus on scholarships. Great states for scholarships are like Texas, California as well. Apart from that, there's of course great places to work where you can make the maximum bank in the least amount of time, and those would be something like New York, California, remember? So all of those things you have to keep in mind based on your exact degree. What may be the answer for you may not be the answer for someone else in the room. Remember that. Great. Now that we're done with that, the next thing we want to do is we want to work on our document preparation. Remember, to apply, you also need things like statement of purpose and recommendation letters, right? And you can actually check this on the Stanford website itself as well. And don't think that it's only for the top universities. It's for almost every university out there. They will require your statement of purpose, where you have to tell them about your motivation, your preparation, essentially why this program is a good fit for you, right? And they require recommendation letters, essentially where your recommender is writing about you as to why you would be a good fit to that university's program. Remember, these are very important documents and you need to prepare them in advance. People spend months on it sometimes, and if you're in the last moment and you need our help, and we have YMGrad graduates already doing what topmost universities do as well, right? So what topmost universities accept, essentially what you can do is you can go onto the services, you can take a look at the SOP service, the LOR services, all right? Essentially the essays are also covered over here. But yeah, you can look into our process as well, just in case you need help with it. But otherwise, if you're doing it yourself, start as early as possible. We do it every single day, so we know how to actually go about it, and it does not take as much time when you're doing it every single day for 5 years. But this is not the case for most of you guys out there. You're going to be doing it for the first time. Trust me, there's multiple iterations, there's multiple reviews, there's a lot of people you show it to, and it takes a hell lot of time. So as you can see in this image, by September, you gotta finish off with your recommendation letters, your SOPs. By the way, recommendation letters should be done by your professors, but a lot of times they just offload it to the student itself a lot of times. But even though that is unfortunate, it is something that you should be ready to deal with. Finally, once you're finished with these documentation, all you need to do is to go ahead and apply to the universities. How do you actually do that? You actually search for the university that you want to apply to, right? And then there should be usually an apply now link or something of that sort on this very website itself. Let me give you a sample. Let's say that I reached this apply now link, I created my account, I logged in, and here's what I will do. After logging in, I will click on start a new application. I will create the application and I will then open up that application. Okay, after opening it up, I will consent, right? You of course have to read all of this, but yeah, then you have to actually submit all of this information, personal information, residency, program, which program are you applying for, right? Based on that, they may actually have more sections that they may open up. So there's a lot of information that you have to enter on these university admissions portals, right? You have to enter your test scores, you have to enter your references, right? Recommendation letters will be asked from your references, by the way. You have to of course upload your statement of purpose, all of these. For instance, have you ever applied? Let's say no. Are you current previous employee? No. And you have to basically choose a program. Let's say I am going to be choosing business administration, for instance. All right, and then you have to select a format over here. Let's say that I'm going to select on campus, right? The degree has to be, let's say, management MS, just in case in this one, right? The term can be fall 2023, right? Concentration, whatever you would like to choose over here, right? You can choose all of these, and then whatever you got to do, right? You can actually do all of that. Submit all of these forms. Basically, when you see this form keeps getting longer, that's my point over here, right? This form keeps getting longer. They're going to ask you a hell lot of information over here, but you've got to be ready. Remember, see, academics, test scores, resume, statements, program essay, video questions. There's all kinds of things that open up when you actually start entering this information. So remember, you have to actually be very well prepared in advance for these. All right, so for every single university, you will be submitting one application. Of course, this will happen for each and every university that you're applying to, right? So if you're applying to, let's say, 8 universities, you have to fill 8 long application portals. That's the standard process. There are ways around it, but that's the recommended way to go about it as well. All right. And if you actually come back to the schedule over here, what you will find is, okay, by October, you should be submitting applications. Very important. October, November, I would say, finish it off. Apply to the universities for the most part. That's the best way possible. All right. Otherwise, some people are generally also taking tests, shortlisting universities over here. I would not recommend that you push it this far if possible, right? But yeah, if you have, then okay, you can still do it. And by December, Jan, Feb, this is the time you should be waiting for the decisions or applying to more universities. But really, if you want to get your foot in the door, try applying early. October itself, applications are open. Apply as soon as possible. All right. And then by March or so, you should expect to receive a lot of admissions. In fact, if you apply early, you can even get them by December itself. For a lot of universities, they will give you early decisions. All right. Once you get the decisions, of course, then you start your visa processing. It's a completely different ball game. But for now, what I had to tell you was exactly how to go ahead and apply to university for a master's or PhD, almost any country that you want. And that's exactly how easy the process was. End to end, I've explained every single thing in this video. And there's a lot more depth that I can go into each and every one of these topics, by the way, which I already have and I also will be in the future as well on this channel. So make sure that you subscribe over here to get that invaluable information using which you can actually make it to some of the best universities in the whole wide world. And also, please make sure to follow us on Instagram, where we have a lot more short form content for you guys. I hope that this video helps. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye and take care for now.